When you accepted that job, they told you what your benefits would be. They told you what your salary would be. And in your job description, they even told you what you'd be responsible for, what you'd be managing, and maybe even who you'd be leading. But nowhere in the writing did it tell you what you'd actually be spending every single day. I'm talking about what it would cost you. And I'm not talking about the parts that they think they know. I'm talking about the parts that no one accounts for. I am talking about the long laundry list of things that don't show up on that annual performance review. And that's exactly what I want to talk about in today's video. I want to talk about those things that add to your exhaustion that are really hard to explain. If you're new here, I'm Erica Prevail, and I talk about lifestyle redesign, modern work culture, and how I healed myself from corporate brain rot after career burnout. I also talk about wellness, and I talk about creativity. And today we're going to be talking about the things they left off of that job description that is adding to the reason that you're exhausted, and things that we don't look at often that could be definitely adding to the exhaustion that you might be experiencing. So today's tea is lemon ginger. And this is the Bigelow brand that you can kind of get at any like Walmart or Publix or any grocery store. And I really like this lemon ginger because you can taste the lemon very boldly and you can taste the ginger. So I really like this lemon ginger brand. So let's get into it. I have a lot of notes today. A lot of notes because I did not want to miss a beat with this one. We're going to talk about like the cost that did not get added, like I said, to that job description, because there are daily costs that we pay that are never disclosed to us. And when we are in these systems, sometimes we're so wrapped up in it. Of course, we don't see them ourselves. We just kind of, oftentimes, it was my experience that I just kind of woke up one day in a life that no longer felt like mine, overweight, burnt out, misaligned in all of the things. Because we know that when we apply for these jobs in corporate America, they have these beautiful titles, these job descriptions. Some of them could be even pages long, and they outline a lot of things. They outline our responsibilities, what a day may look like, what the expectations are, what our compensation will be. But no one really tells us what it will cost us beyond that. And I'm talking about this from, a corporate lens, but if we want to even, this is just coming to my mind as I'm saying this, it even goes back to things that I've talked about before, when no one even in our families or our friends or our teachers, in school, even kind of warned us about, because we're all just so caught up in ultimately, what I call today the corporate brain rot, by no fault of our own or anyone's. It's just, how the system has been made. And the cost isn't like the long hours. The cost isn't all of the tasks and things that we have to do, because we know those are expected. We know that when we take a job, when we step into certain careers, that sometimes long hours, sometimes more responsibility, those things are to be expected. But there's something that's being spent every day that no one really names. And because no one names it, we, particularly as women, I'm sure men feel this too, but I talk to women, we don't account for it. Because the things that we're spending our energy every day on can look like a lot of different things. I have a full list, and I'm just going to name off some of the few. So if I say any of these things that you're like, oh yeah, I've definitely done that, this is adding, these things can be adding to your exhaustion in ways that you have not necessarily accounted for, especially when we're doing these things day in and day out, week in and week out, month in and month out, year in and year out, decade after decade. If I'm in my 40s, so I've definitely been in the career field for 2 decades. You know what I mean? Anticipating, let me know if you've done this, anticipating how your boss or your team is going to react to something before you even walk in the room or before the presentation even walks in the room. Figuring out how to present ideas in a way that actually land to the group. Reorganizing priority after priority after priority, because what the project was supposed to be, or the priority was supposed to be, has switched 3 times before your 10 o'clock meeting. Leading conversations very carefully so they don't go sideways. I've definitely had to do that. Now, what about this one? I've had to do this multiple times and still have to do it today while I'm navigating a 9-to-5. Translating what leadership wants into something the team can actually execute on. Because, oftentimes, even if you are a leader, there's still people you have to report to, leaders on leaders, and their ideas of things can sometimes be very disconnected from what the project or the objective or the goal might actually be. So then trying to turn what they desire into what the team can actually execute. I got a sip. Yeah. And it goes on and on and on, finding diplomatic ways to disagree, keeping your face neutral when something has genuinely frustrated you or aggravated the heck out of you. Figuring how to ask for something without it sounding like a complaint. And just carrying the context of different people's needs, emotions, personalities throughout all of the day. All of this, what I name, is creative labor. It's applied creativity. It is using your imagination to solve a real life problem. That is creative labor, and it's exhausting. All of those things on top of even more things that you do all day adds to your exhaustion in a way that I'm sure you probably never thought about it before. All of that creative labor adds to your exhaustion. And when you're not filling back up that creative cup that you have drained, like I said, week over week, month over month, year over year, quarter after quarter, and sometimes decade over decade, that's adding to the exhaustion that you might be already feeling. And if any of this resonates with you, I created the refill just for this. It's going to be a 75-minute guided creative experience where I'm going to lead you through a creative practice to add back into your cup. This is for the women who continually pour and haven't had time to pour back into themselves. This isn't about being an artist. This isn't about doing anything perfect. I'm going to be holding space for you and other women who feel it. If that's something that is interested to you, I've linked it down in the comments. But this is why this type of exhaustion is hard to explain. It's hard to explain. Similarly to how you get into the corporate brain rot, is because things are going well overall. Excuse me. Your performance reviews are stellar. You're getting the work done. You're doing your thing. Like, from the outside, everything looks good. Things are going good. But when you get home, you are just exhausted. When you log off, you are just exhausted. You can't make small decisions around the house because you're just so wiped out. And that is invisible. So it's really hard to name what it actually is, because then when you can't name it, it becomes normal. And then you see how it just continues to compile, because now this exhaustion that you can't name, you've just come to normalize it. And again, that part did not make it into the job description or the offer letter. So I'm going to tell you a quick story about me. I've shared this before, but I used to have a style blog. I had this style blog for 4 years. It was called Erica's Armoire. And it was something that I created for myself because I just needed a creative outlet. And this was kind of around the beginning of the pandemic that I created the blog, and I had such a fun time with this blog. And I created the blog because in my corporate leadership career, I had always got compliments on what I looked like, how I presented. And in addition to my just true enjoyment for style and fashion, always getting compliments for style and fashion, I was like, oh yeah, this blog would be a great creative outlet. So I created the blog. It was such a good time. I got to work with a lot of cool brands. I had a 2-year partnership with New York and Company, which at the time was one of my favorite like workwear brands. And they have really evolved from the New York and Company that our moms, used to wear. And it was just a really good time until it, turned into basically another job, more stress. And I ultimately let the blog go to the wayside. But I'm sharing this conversation because it goes into how I used to just put a lot of effort in my corporate leadership career and my appearance. And of course, I still do put effort into my appearance, but I would really like pick out my cute dresses, my cute blouses, my cute tops to wear to the office. But again, this is me reflecting back. I was in healthcare leadership on the clinical side. So I would wear, my beautiful workwear to work. But as the years of me being in this role and me just being more exhausted, me just being more stressed, I just slowly but surely, I went from like putting effort into my clothes like 5 days a week to maybe only 3 days a week, to maybe only 2 days a week. And on the other days, girl, I would just wear scrubs because I was in the clinical side of healthcare leadership. So scrubs were appropriate, but it's just like, I could not think about one more thing. I could not think about putting together an outfit. I could not think about seeing how I could style these pants differently than I've styled them before. I just did not have the energy to do it. The exhaustion, and particularly all these ways that I was using my applied creativity, I just went off a whole list of things, were just adding to my exhaustion in a way that I did not know. And I just was so tired. Like something that I really enjoyed, which is style and fashion, I could no longer even put in the effort to put together an outfit in the morning. So I just stopped putting in the effort and just wore scrubs to work, and that's how those things that kind of exhaustion kind of even presents itself, even when I would go home. And at this time I was living with my partner. So we had a very good routine of like some nights he would cook dinner, sometimes I would cook dinner. We ate out a lot. So even if it was a night that was like, okay, we're going to go to dinner tonight, like neither of us had to cook, but not even being able to make a decision about like where we even wanted to go to eat. I'm just thinking about like how applied creativity, in a way that we don't see ourselves using this, adds to our exhaustion. That, and what I just described, that's creative fatigue, that's decision fatigue, and all of that adds to our exhaustion in ways that we probably have never thought about. And like I said before, when I'm talking about creativity, it's not about becoming an artist. It's about becoming aware of the ways that you're using applied creativity all day long in your everyday work life, in your everyday work spaces and places, and in your everyday life. And then you're not pouring back into yourself in the same ways that you're being pulled from. And that just keeps the exhaustion in this everlasting loop. So my conversations around this aren't about, like I'm always say, becoming an artist, because I think when people hear creativity, that's immediately where their minds go. But that's not what I talk about this from the standpoint of. I want you to see how you're using creativity in ways that don't fill you up, that don't give you anything back, and then make you aware of choosing things for yourself where you're able to pour back in yourself creatively, so you're not just pulling from an empty well that could be adding to your exhaustion in ways that you have not thought about it before. And what filling your cup up could actually look like is just doing things that bring you joy, doing things that you're not trying to be perfect at or expert at, or you're trying to monetize, like me starting my style blog just for a creative outlet. And then ultimately it was monetized. It was like, I just looking back, and again, it was a fun time. I don't regret anything. All the things we go through are all lessons, but I should have just kept it as a hobby. And that's why I have so many hobbies now, girl, because I'm just in a place of, I know how much creative energy I pour out in both my 9 to 5 with applied creativity and both my business with artistic creativity. So I have to pour back into myself creatively in more ways than one, because I'm pouring so deeply in a multitude of ways. So think about things that used to bring you joy or bring you calm or bring you a certain level of peace or curiosity. Maybe when you were a little girl, before you had to produce anything, before you had to optimize anything, before you had to like really execute on anything. And think of something that you can easily do, something that's slow, something that's not maybe tied to your job title. Creating something without an audience, without a goal. And I've shared this with you before. That's one of the reasons why I like to do cross stitching, because it's very tactile. It's something I can do with my hands. It's very slow, because you can't stitch, fast. That's like not the purpose. Like, it's a really slow activity, and it forces you to slow down. It forces you to focus. And it's just so soothing and relaxing to me. And it's mine. Like, I'm not doing it to impress anybody. I'm not doing it to post it anywhere. It's truly something that I can enjoy for myself. And these are ways that you can pour back in your creative cup. Again, you don't have to do the type of things, I call them creative wellness practices, but people kind of term them as hobbies. The reason why I don't use the word hobby is because if you're not careful, a hobby can turn into something else, again, that you're trying to become an expert at, you're trying to perfect, or you're trying to monetize in some way. And that's the complete opposite of what this thing should be doing for you. It should be pouring something back into you, some joy, some peace, some relaxation, some calm. And that's how you start to pour back into your cup creatively after you've been pouring for days, weeks, months, and years. And like I said in the beginning of this video, that job description was never going to tell you this, girl. That's why I'm having this conversation. It's not in the job description. It's not in the job title, but this is what the system, the construct, the workplace, this is what these things are designed for. So you have to be very careful. And again, I'm not anti-corporate. I'm not anti-achievement, and I'm not anti-success. I'm having these conversations for your awareness, to give you language. So when you're in the construct, when you're in the systems, you know how to navigate, pivot, move, and take care of yourself. That's the purpose of me having these conversations, because ultimately the responsibility of you falls on you. No one else is going to take care of you. No one else is really going to look out for you, not in the way that you can, not in a way that you can. So just be aware of what's happening. Be aware of your exhaustion, even in those quiet ways. Start noticing more and then take action. Because like I always say in my videos, we can learn, we can have all the information, but what are you going to do with what you know? What are you going to do with the information that you have? So it's really about taking action. You can still be great at your work. Again, I'm in a space of still navigating a 9 to 5, building a business. I do good work in my 9 to 5. But my health and wellness is my ultimate priority, and that will always be what it is. And the corporation won't do that for you. You have to do it for yourself. And again, if you're in a place where you want to start pouring back into yourself more creatively after you're pouring so much throughout the day, check out the refill, the space that I'm curating very, very soon. I put the link in the description box and I pinned it in the comments just in case that's something you're interested in and you want to check out. Let me know if anything in this video resonated with you. Definitely give it a like, share with me any comments below, anything that came up for you, anything that resonated with you, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.